Welcome to Gamers Platform. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Adam Wolf from Gamers Platform, and today I got a special video for you guys. And it's a video that really more or less pertains to people who are also YouTube creators like myself, or are just interested in what YouTube creators do behind the scenes and what we have to go through to make our videos happen. And one of those things that we definitely have to do is make sure that we are encoding our videos in the proper bit rate. And I'll go over what a bit rate is in a minute. But it's really integral to making your videos look as good as possible on the platform at which you want them to be viewed. And YouTube is the biggest platform these days. So, of course, YouTube has their own standards, and we have to kind of follow them as closely as possible, so that way we give you guys the best viewing experience possible. So today's video is really going to be pertaining to the really more technical side of videos and how to properly encode them when you're done editing them. And I guess you could really call this video a bit of a complaint video, because I do have some problems with this. And it basically just comes to nobody's surprise that it's all about YouTube lying, and they've been doing that a lot lately, or just not, talking to their creators or whatever. So I will be going into what I have a problem with. The main problem I have that this whole video is about is the fact that YouTube has lied about the bit rates in which we need to encode our videos. And I'm going to go into all that in a second. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that I will only be covering the high definition ranges, so from 720p to 2160p or 4K. And because those are really only the ones that are really affected. Anything lower than 720p, and it really doesn't look great. So, I'm not going to be covering 480 or 360 or 240 because most people don't tend to watch those resolutions. So you could encode a 480p video at 1 megabit and it wouldn't matter. And I also want you guys to keep in mind that the videos that are recorded at 1440p and 2160p, those were upscaled while I was recording because I don't have a 4K monitor. So what I do to kind of mimic 4K in the recording is that I tell OBS, which is what I used, to upscale from 1080p. So I was playing the game in 1080p and initially recording in 1080p, but while the recording was going, OBS was converting it and upscaling it to 1440p and 2160p respectively. So it's not true 4K, but you'll understand why I did that as we go through the video. It's for clarity's sake, and it's also just to prove a point. And also for consistency's sake, each video was recorded for about 2.5 minutes. I have three games that I tested, and the only reason I tested 3 games was just in case there were any discrepancies that were dependent on the game. So if the type of game maybe affected how the video came out, which is, I know, something very strange to hear, but it's honestly, if you play Skyrim and then you go off and play Battlefield, you record them each, Skyrim looks a lot worse at certain resolutions than Battlefield does, and I don't understand what happens there. That much I don't know, but I do know that it's definitely there's a difference when it comes to the games and their color palettes and the complexity of the models and stuff like that. So it really does have somewhat of an effect. So that's why I chose 3 different games just to cover the bases and hopefully kind of give you guys an idea as to what I'm talking about. Okay, so to start things off, what exactly is a bit? Well, a bit, or binary digit, is a basic unit of information used in computing and digital communications. A binary digit can have only one of 2 values and may be physically represented with a 2-state device. These state values are most commonly represented as either a 0 or a 1, aka binary, the programming language that computers understand, or computer language. And in terms of video encoding, a lot of what you look at is all represented in terms of bits, or in this case, bit rate. So how much data per second do you want being encoded at once? And these are the values that were given by YouTube or by any other platform to gauge an idea as to where what our videos are going to look like at specific resolutions. So the lower the bit rate, the worse it's going to look. The higher the bit rate, the better it's going to look. And normally when you're setting a bit rate, it's calculated in terms of kilobits per second. So hopefully that kind of explains what a bit and a bit rate is. And the whole reason for me explaining what those are is that my complaint right now is that YouTube is actually giving us false bit rates to encode our videos at. So right here, what I'm showing you is what YouTube recommends. Some of you guys, if you've ever looked up, their recommended encoding settings, this is the page that you would see. And it lists out recommended settings for SDR or standard dynamic range and recommended settings for HDR or high dynamic range. And then, of course, you got the audio bit rates down on the bottom. The one we're going to be focusing on today is, of course, the SDR, because I do not have an HDR capable TV, and I certainly wouldn't even know if HDR was even being displayed. So we're going to be focusing on the SDR side of things, and those are the bit rates that you guys that YouTube wants us to use when encoding our videos for their platform. My biggest problem here is that none of these numbers are correct. None of them. Because YouTube actually compresses your video to obviously save space and make it possible to watch on the internet. And I think most people nowadays actually have a decent internet connection, so I'm not sure if these compressions or the compression that they're doing is really necessary, to be honest. I mean, there are some people here that just don't have great internet still, but the majority of people do. And I think that these levels of compression are just unnecessary. And so I'm going to show you guys the process in which I went to get these numbers. Real quick here, I'm showing you that I would upload the video unlisted, okay, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to download it. And then I would go to the page, copy the link, and I would use this program called 4K Video Downloader. The only reason that you can actually download it from your own dashboard, from the YouTube dashboard, but it only allows you to download in 720p. Doesn't matter what resolution you uploaded. If you try to download it, download the MP4 from YouTube, you can only download it in 720p. So I used 4K Video Downloader to download each of the resolutions at their respective bit rates. Okay, I would upload it as unlisted, download it with 4K Video Downloader, and then of course I would compare the bit rates of the original, which I encoded in the recommended settings, and then of course compare that to the one that I downloaded, which is the actual bit rate at which it plays back on YouTube. As I mentioned earlier on, there were 3 games that I tested out. I tested out Skyrim, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Battlefield 1. These are all very different games. I mean, Mass Effect and Skyrim are pretty close. They're both RPGs, but needless to say, both varying levels of detail, different camera movements, so on and so forth. And I'm going to show you guys first the YouTube recommended videos, and the only reason that you can see them in a more clearer sense in this video is because this video itself is in 4K, or quote unquote 4K. So you can see that 720p is not going to look that bad. Okay, it's not going to look horrible, but that's only because I'm outputting a lot of data here. So I definitely do recommend that you watch this in 4K if you can. I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. And so that you can really see the difference, because you won't be able to see it, or maybe you will, at 1080p or lower. So right here we're taking a look at Skyrim, and from left to right you'll see that it's 720, 1080, 1440, and then 2160. If you have a keen eye, you will see these little squares, what looks like little squares constantly popping up on the screen on the lower end resolutions. And that's what's called pixelation. Pixelation sets in when the bit rate is not high enough for that particular resolution. Okay, and these are the videos, again, that are set to the recommended encoding settings that were suggested by YouTube. Next, we're going to take a look at Mass Effect Andromeda. Same thing. Different game, much better looking game than Skyrim. much higher detail and stuff like that. And as you can see, progressively gets better and better. Now this is where the videos this is the way that they're supposed to look, okay, on YouTube. This is supposedly what they're supposed to look like on YouTube, and it's not, and you're gonna see it in a second. But it's just, you know, if they look like this, like, I wouldn't be so upset about this, but I kind of am. And lastly, we have Battlefield 1 here. And Battlefield 1, you know, Battlefield is a first-person shooter, and camera movements are really fast, and sometimes pixelation sets in because there's just a lot of data happening all at once, and it needs to be quick. But I did use the beginning of the campaign to kind of like just have some sort of 2.5 minute section. So we're in the tank, we're in third person, but the idea remains the same, that we're still looking for pixelation to set in somewhere, going from the lower resolutions to the higher resolutions. And as you can see, hopefully from 720p all the way up to 2160p, that you'll be able to see that it progressively does look nicer. And again, these examples are what the videos are supposed to look like, not what, you know, they look like now, okay? And I'm going to show you what they look like when you watch them on YouTube. Right here we have Skyrim. I don't know if you guys notice, but it progressively looks worse. Like, it looks awful. Okay, and I don't know about you, but 720p when I record it at a decent bitrate does not look like that ever. Okay, and if you go to any other website that hosts their own videos, they don't use YouTube or anything like that, 720p can look amazing compared to what you see on YouTube. And this is all because YouTube, when you upload a video and it goes through its processing and stuff, compresses the video to a point where it's like, what's the point in encoding in 720 or 1080? There's really no point. And so we're gonna, you know, as we go through each of the games here, you'll see that it's pretty much the same situation all across the board. And I don't understand, other than, you know, to save server space, the reasoning behind them just killing the quality of our videos so much. You know, when we encode our videos in such high bit rates, we take up a lot of our own hard drive space. I don't know about you, but going out and buying 4 terabyte hard drives every once in a while just because I'm running out of space, because I don't want to get rid of the raw files, okay, of the original footage, it really shouldn't be a problem. It really shouldn't. I shouldn't have to constantly be updating and getting more hard drives just because YouTube decides to degrade the quality of my videos and force me to encode in something higher than 1080p. It's bull. It's bull. I'm really trying hard not to swear, and it's just like, it's aggravating. I'm even stumbling over my own words, that I'm just really upset about all this, but I'm trying to explain it to you guys in a way that you might understand. So these are all the compressed videos, and here is an example, okay? Here's an example of the original file in the recommended encoding, and here is the file when it was compressed, when I downloaded it from my channel. Do you see that difference there? This is the 720p video of Skyrim. You can see there's clearly about a 2 megabit difference between the two. Here's an even more clear picture, obviously, of how the bit rates actually stack up against each other. If you take a look at each of the games, I've labeled them all the way down from 720 to 2160, each with the recommended bit rates. Now, these are the bit rates that I encoded at. Those are the bit rates that ended up being used. So it's not exactly 5 megabits. It's not exactly 16 megabits. They're kind of like fluctuated, because it, you know, uses different data at certain times of the game depending on what's in the screen. How this is laid out is that I've got roughly about the recommended bitrate settings for YouTube, and then next to that I have what the actual bitrate is. after YouTube compresses it. You guys can see, and I also have in the far right column the difference in percentage, and this is all rounded up to the first decimal place, so it's all rounded up. So like when you see something like 36.2%, it's actually 36.17 something. So I just rounded up to the first decimal place, but it's roughly about there. And there's a lot of difference. There's a huge percentage of data that is just compressed. Usually about half of your data is compressed. So if you upload a video at, like, say, for example, at 4K at 45 megabits per second, it's cut in damn near half. Your bitrate is cut in half. So what would be the reason? Are they telling us these numbers just to make sure that we know that, hey, we need some overhead so that your video isn't cut in half? Because when you upload a video at what you're, like, say at 4K, and you upload it at about 20 to 22 megabits, no data is actually taken out. It's basically set there. And I've tested this many times before. So if I was to take a 4K video, upload it at 20 megabits per second, I actually did that once. I did it last night. I uploaded it at 4K at 20 megabits per second. It actually added 3 megabits more. So that was confusing in itself. When I uploaded it to YouTube, they actually ended up adding 3 megabits on when the video itself was not encoded at 23 megabits. So I don't know what happened there, but it was the weirdest thing. And right here, we've got the averages. And as you can see, at 720, the average difference between these three games, okay, the average difference in percentage was about 42.3%. The average is in 1080, 44.7, 1440 is 36.3, and 2160 is at 52.4. Now, that's between these three games, so that means at each one of these resolutions, roughly about that percentage is going to be taken away of your quality, of the video's quality. So that's how much your videos are degraded because of YouTube's compression. It blows my mind that they would even have a page like their recommended bitrate settings or encoding settings, when that stuff isn't even true. It's not even true. It's a big fat lie. And, you know, I've been trying to figure out, I want to give you guys good quality videos, but I don't have just spare money lying around that I'm going to go and buy another 4 terabyte or even 8 terabyte hard drive at $200 a pop just so I can keep my original files. I have to basically make a decision as to, do I record at lower resolutions, at lower bit rates, or do I record at high resolutions, high bit rates, and then delete the originals later, afterwards? What if I need those originals later? What if I want them for later? I mean, it's really messed up. And so I say this to YouTube, guys, WTF? Seriously, what's going on? Why are you giving us these recommended encoding settings when you don't even uphold those settings? Like, I started noticing this when I was uploading my videos, that they didn't look the same when I uploaded them. And I've been looking at this for a while, so, you know, I've been sitting on this for a while, but I've just been, like, kind of going with it, and now I just feel like I should make a video on it, because this is bull. I shouldn't have to upload at a higher resolution just because you guys want to save a buck or something. I don't know, but I mean, I'm hoping one of these days I can host my own videos and be done with this platform, but who knows? I don't know why they do it. So, I mean, in conclusion, basically, that's my gripe. It's basically been a gripe video. I know I'm stumbling over my words. I honestly can't really seem to put together a single coherent thought tonight, but I hope that you guys got the gist of what I was saying, that all of this is insane, to the fact that we are basically being forced to encode our videos at 1440p or higher, just so that our audiences can actually have a decent viewing experience. Now, I understand that on something like a mobile device, videos actually look better because the pixel density is smaller, or is higher, excuse me. So 720p actually doesn't look terrible. But that's on a smaller screen. You take a look at this video on a regular PC screen, like a 1080p monitor or something like that, and you watch it in like 1080p, it's not going to look that great. You know, a lot of the gameplay is going to look kind of crappy. So, and that's all because that's all due to YouTube's compression, and none of it makes any sense. So I hope that maybe this kind of sheds some light on what's going on. You know, if you've ever taken a look at your videos and compared to other people's videos and just said, why are my videos looking so bad? Here's why. YouTube is lying. Go figure. They're lying about their bit rates. They're lying about their encoding settings. And if they want to keep it there, that's all on them. But I'm just putting it out there that they're lying to you. Okay? So, you know, you have to make a conscious decision for yourself as to, is it worth it encoding in high bit rates and high resolutions and just like filling up my hard drive so quickly, or should I just keep it on the low? And I don't know about you guys, but I want to give you guys the best quality videos possible, and I might start actually recording in 1080p at a really high bit rate so that there's no room for error, and just upscaling it to 4K, and then, you know, you guys can watch it in 4K if you want. If you can't, I'm sorry. There are lower resolutions, but the video isn't going to look as good. So, all in all, if you were questioning any of this, I hope that I helped a little bit. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. My memory is not great. I did write down some notes. I'm looking at them right now. I wrote down everything I could remember I wanted to talk about, and of course, I'm blabbing on about absolutely nothing, so a lot of this is probably going to get cut, or I'm just going to cut it in a way that doesn't sound terrible. You know, I don't know, it pisses me off that companies like do this kind of crap, and I'm really hoping that maybe you guys are with me on this. YouTube has not exactly been in the good graces of their users lately, and this is just another thing to kind of fuel the fire a little bit, and hopefully you guys understand my dilemma as to the reason why I constantly am changing resolutions. Like lately I've been uploading only at 720p because I need to save space, and if you were ever wondering why I needed to save space, well, that's why, and hopefully this explained it a little bit for you. And again, if there's anything I missed, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm always looking for things to talk about and things to explain, and I certainly am not perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm just a pro. I'm not a pro. This is what I researched. This is what I calculated, and if I'm wrong about any of this for any reason, let me know. I just think that what I did here was pretty sound, so I'm hoping that maybe it helps shed some light on the situation. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and please join me again in the next one when YouTube screws up again and I have to make another video again about them screwing up again. And don't forget to check the links in the video description below for all of the social media stuff, the website, which is down right now. Okay, I'm still working on that. And again on Twitch as well. If you're watching this on Twitch, don't forget to follow the channel so that you know when I go live. Bleh. Turn those notifications on your phones, and hopefully they work, and then you guys can stop on by and watch me live stream some crappy games. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video. If you dislike it, I am only going to take that as you dislike YouTube. And certainly check out the link for the Extra Life campaign. Still running $146. We're just shy of $200. That's all we need. $200. We're so close. Please help me. And I know this video went a little bit long. I'm sorry. And as always, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'm Adam Wolf. This wasn't a game. I mean, it's just a video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.